Ren and the king stood facing each other on the training grounds, the air crackling with tension. The king, a towering figure with an aura of power, grinned as he cracked his knuckles. Ren, though nervous, felt a surge of determination. He had survived the monster-infested forest, and he wasn't about to back down now. The king made the first move, rushing at Ren with incredible speed. Ren barely managed to dodge, his stealth speed skill allowing him to evade the king's fist by a hair's breadth. The king's eyes lit up with excitement. "Not many can dodge me," the king said, his voice filled with admiration. "You're faster than you look." The king lunged again, this time with a series of rapid strikes. Ren dodged most of them, but the king eventually landed a solid blow, sending Ren skidding backward. Ren retaliated with a fireball, but the king's body hardened, the flames dissipating harmlessly against his skin. "There we go," the king said, grinning. "I was wondering when you'd take me seriously. Now, let's stop the warm-up and fight for real." Ren smirked, despite the pain in his ribs. "All right, don't blame me if you get hurt." The king laughed. "Try me." Ren activated his stealth speed, disappearing from the king's view. But the king wasn't fazed. He muttered, "Accelerate," and vanished as well, reappearing in front of Ren. Their fists collided, the impact sending shockwaves through the training grounds. They exchanged blows, each one faster and more powerful than the last. The king slid back and launched his attack. "Stone bullet!" he shouted, sending a barrage of rock-like projectiles at Ren. Ren reacted quickly, creating 5 fire walls in succession to block the attack. He followed up with a volley of fire arrows, but the king was already on the move. Ren looked down just in time to see the king crouched by his left rib cage, fist cocked back. "Too slow, boy," the king said, delivering a devastating punch. Desperate, Ren redirected the fire arrows back at himself and the king, creating an explosion that sent them both flying. Ren used his stealth speed to escape the blast, but the king appeared in front of him again, his acceleration skill keeping pace. Thinking quickly, Ren created a fireball between them. The king, moving too fast to dodge, was blown back by the explosion. Ren took minor damage from the blast, but he landed on his feet, his resolve unshaken. "I endured hell in that forest to get stronger," Ren said, his voice steady. "I won't be put down so easily." To his surprise, the king stood up without a scratch, his hardening skill protecting him. The king laughed, clearly enjoying himself. "This is the most fun I've had in years. Now, round 2. Just as the king was about to charge again, Alana stormed onto the training grounds, her hands on her hips. "Dad, stop!" she yelled, her voice filled with annoyance. "This is why the 4 heroes don't like coming here anymore." Ren's ears perked up at the mention of heroes. This world has heroes too, he thought, filing the information away for later. The king sighed, reluctantly lowering his fists. Fine. But you have to admit, this was a good match." Alana rolled her eyes but couldn't hide a small smile. She turned to Ren. "Are you okay?" Ren nodded, wincing slightly. "Yeah, just a few bruises. Nothing I can't handle." After the sparring match, Ren was offered a chance to recover. He took a bath, changed into fresh clothes, and joined the royal family for dinner. Though he wanted to leave and continue his journey, he stayed out of politeness. During the meal, Ren was about to ask about the 4 heroes when a guard burst into the dining hall. "Your Majesty, we've found the culprits who harmed Princess Alana." The king's expression darkened. "Bring them to me at once." Ren, Alana, and the king followed the guard to the throne room, where the culprits were brought in. Alana's eyes widened when she saw the king's second wife among them, along with a group of known assassins. The king's second wife sneered as she was brought before him. "You think you can stop me?" she said, her voice dripping with venom. "I'm the only one who deserves to be queen, not that brat or your first wife." Alana opened her mouth to respond, but the king raised a hand, silencing her. His expression was calm, but his eyes burned with fury. "Let this be an example to anyone who dares harm my children," the king said, his voice low and dangerous. He raised his hand, and the air crackled with energy. Almighty thunder. A bolt of huge lightning shot from the sky, obliterating the second wife and the assassins in an instant. The room fell silent. The king turned to Alana and hugged her gently. "You're safe now," he said, his voice soft. The following morning, Ren prepared to leave the castle. As he walked through the city, he noticed a crowd gathered around a newsstand. Curious, he picked up a newspaper and saw his own face on the front page. The headline read, "Hero Saves Princess, Thwarts Assassination Plot." Ren couldn't help but chuckle. He had only been in this world for a short time, and he was already making headlines. The article also detailed the fate of the king's second wife and the assassins, praising the king's swift justice. When Ren arrived at the guild, he was greeted with applause. The guild master presented him with the funds he had earned from selling the monster cores, which Ren stored in his new dimensional ring. To his surprise, he was also promoted to an A-rank adventurer, a rare achievement that caused a stir among the other guild members. As the murmurs of praise died down, the king entered the room and everyone fell silent. A little later, Ren sat down in the meeting room of the guild building with both the king and the guild master being present. The atmosphere was tense as they discussed a special quest, one that would test Ren's strength and resolve like never before. The king leaned forward, his expression serious. "There's a giant, violent red dragon terrorizing the outskirts of the kingdom," the king explained. "It's been burning villages, slaughtering innocents, and disappearing before we can mount a proper defense. I can't go myself, the kingdom needs me here, and the Senate would never allow it. That's why I'm asking you, Ren." Ren's eyes widened. "A dragon," he stammered, his voice trembling slightly. The thought of facing such a monstrous creature sent a chill down his spine. The guild master, a grizzled man with a kind but firm demeanor, placed a reassuring hand on Ren's shoulder. "Don't worry, Ren. You're stronger than you think. I've heard about your fight with the king and your training in the forest. You've got what it takes. Plus, you won't be alone. 2 other A-rank adventurers will be joining you." Ren took a deep breath, trying to calm his nerves. "May I ask about the 4 heroes?" he said. The king sighed. Since the defeat of the Demon King years ago, 3 of the 4 heroes have lost interest in fighting. They think there's no one left who can challenge them. It's a shame, peace doesn't mean you can rest. Evil is always lurking. As for the 4th hero, he's the oldest and still active, but his age is catching up to him. Ren's mind flashed back to the old man who had saved him from the Wolf Fang clan boss. Could he be the 4th hero? He wondered. Before Ren could ask more questions, the doors to the hall swung open, and 2 figures entered. The first was a tall, muscular man with a confident grin. His arms crackled with faint sparks of lightning as he strode forward. "So, this must be the guy who single-handedly destroyed the forest of monsters," the man said, his voice booming. "Name's Shirin. Nice to meet you." A slender woman with icy blue hair stepped forward, smacking Shirin on the back of the head. "Can't you be quiet for once?" she scolded. She turned to Ren, her piercing eyes studying him. "I'm Claire. My skills allow me to control dark and ice elements. You don't look that strong, are you sure you won't let us down?" Ren opened his mouth to respond, but the king cut in. "Enough," he said firmly. "Ren is my choice. He's proven himself more than capable." Claire sighed and bowed her head slightly. "My apologies, Your Majesty." She glanced at Ren again, her expression softening. "Let's just hope you can keep up." The guild master stepped forward, unrolling a map on the table. "The dragon has been spotted near the distant mountain villages. It's massive, but it somehow manages to disappear frequently, making it difficult to track. That's why we can't just launch a full-scale attack. You'll need to find it and take it down before it can escape again." The king's expression darkened. "This dragon has taken thousands of lives already. If you get the chance, kill it. Don't hesitate." A few days later, Ren, Shirin, and Claire set out for the mountain villages. The journey was long and arduous, but the trio made good time, their skills allowing them to traverse the rugged terrain with ease. They visited several villages, each one bearing the scars of the dragon's wrath: charred buildings, scorched earth, and the lingering smell of smoke. Despite the destruction, there was no sign of the dragon itself. It was as if the creature had vanished into thin air. Ren couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease. The dragon's ability to disappear made it even more dangerous. One evening, as the trio took a break in a small clearing, a deafening roar echoed through the mountains. Ren's heart skipped a beat as he turned toward the sound. In the distance, they could see a massive plume of fire rising into the sky, illuminating the horizon. "That's it," Shirin said, his voice filled with excitement. "The dragon." Claire's eyes narrowed as she stared at the flames. "It's too far to make out details, but there's no mistaking that roar. We need to move. Now." Ren clenched his fists, his nerves giving way to determination. The dragon was close, and they couldn't afford to let it escape again. He glanced at Shirin and Claire, who were already preparing to move. "Let's go," Ren said, his voice steady. "This ends today." Ren and Shirin both used their speed to reach the dragon quickly, while Claire used her skill to create a portal, arriving at the same time. Shirin, ever the impulsive fighter, had transformed into a bolt of lightning, streaking toward the dragon with incredible speed. His attack, Thunderous Call, struck the dragon with a deafening crash, sending it plummeting into the ground. The impact kicked up a massive cloud of smoke and debris, obscuring their vision. When the smoke cleared, however, the dragon was gone. Shirin landed beside Ren and Claire, his expression a mix of confusion and frustration. "I know I hit it," he said, his voice tense. "Where did it go?" Ren felt a growing sense of unease. He scanned the area, his instincts screaming that they were being watched. Before he could voice his concerns, a massive fireball erupted from nowhere, hurtling toward Claire's back. "Claire, look out!" Ren shouted, activating his stealth speed to intercept the attack. He reached the fireball just in time, catching it with a burst of flame from his fire mastery skill. The force of the fireball pushed him back, his feet digging into the ground as he struggled to hold it at bay. Claire turned, her eyes widening as she saw Ren holding off the fireball. She quickly opened a dark portal, intending to escape with Ren, but he was still grappling with the fireball. Realizing what she was trying to do, Ren used a fire propulsion move to launch himself backward into the portal. Claire stepped in after him, closing the portal just as the fireball lost its target and exploded harmlessly in the distance. Shirin, having witnessed the attack, tried to estimate the fireball's origin. He dashed in the direction it had come from, but another fireball was launched at him. Ren and Claire emerged from the portal just in time to see Shirin dodging the attack. "This way!" Ren shouted, rushing toward the source of the fireballs. Shirin followed closely, his lightning crackling around him. Claire, realizing they needed to contain the situation, raised her hands and summoned a massive ice barrier. The barrier surrounded the trio in the area where the fireballs had originated, trapping the unseen attacker, or attackers, inside. As they moved through the scorched village, Ren and Shirin heard faint noises coming from one of the partially standing buildings. Shirin raised his hand, ready to unleash a lightning strike, but Ren stopped him. "Wait," Ren said. "That sounds like people. We need to check it out." The door to the building was sealed shut, warped by the intense heat. Ren and Shirin forced it open, revealing a group of 7 terrified survivors huddled inside. They looked up at the adventurers with wide, fearful eyes. Ren wanted to help them, but he couldn't shake the feeling that the enemy might be hiding among them. Claire approached the survivors, her voice calm but firm. "We're here to stop the dragon," she said. "Did you see anyone come in here? Or anyone attacking?" The survivors were too frightened to speak, their faces pale and their bodies trembling. Ren glanced at Claire, then at Sheeran, his mind racing. He needed a way to identify the enemy without putting the survivors at risk. Ren had an idea. He could use his appraisal skill to scan the survivors and see if any of them had a fireball skill. However, he didn't want to alert the enemy or risk harming innocent people. He turned to Claire and whispered, "Open a gate in the ice wall." "The enemy isn't here." Claire raised an eyebrow, clearly questioning his reasoning, but after a moment, she nodded. "All right," she said, her voice low. "But this better work." Sheeran, standing nearby, crossed his arms and narrowed his eyes. He didn't say anything, but his expression made it clear he thought Ren was up to something. He decided to wait and see what Ren had planned.